সুফলা মলয়জ শীতল শ্যামলা মাতরম বন্দে মাতরম সুর জ্যোৎস্না পুলকিত যামিনী পুলকশমিত সুমিদল মোহিনী সুহাসিনী সুমধুর ভাসিনী সুখদার বরদার মাতরম বন্দে মাতরম.
Jotin Das was a luminous star in the galaxy of death-defying freedom fighters that shone on India's firmament in the early years of the 20th century. They prided in shedding blood their own, as it was the only way they thought they could help emancipate India from the shackles of a foreign power far mightier than the unarmed Indians. It should be deemed as only revolutionary, with public appreciation, as its aim was to replace the government with a national one. One such so-called anarchist, Jotindranath Das, was born in Calcutta on 27th October 1904. Bankim Bihari Das and Srimati Suhasini Devi were his parents. Originally, they hailed from North 24 Parganas, Ichhapur, but shifted to Calcutta in the 19th century. He passed his matriculation from the Mitra Institution Bhawanipur branch in First Division 1921 under the Calcutta University. He lost his mother in 1913, so he was practically groomed by his father. My uncle Jotin Das was very determined in character. During his boyhood, he was very fond of sweets. During his several hunger strikes, he used to overcome this eating habit. Mahatma Gandhi captured the Congress in December 1920 at its Nagpur session with his program for non-violent non-cooperation. He promised the nation's freedom within a year's struggle, but he abruptly withdrew the movement soon after the violence Chauri Chora incident in UP. Jotin was involved in the non-cooperation movement and was convicted for picketing of foreign cloth shops in Bodobazar locality of Calcutta. He was released in shattered health from the Hooghly jail. The withdrawal of the movement disillusioned him, but it kept him engaged in the constructive program of the Congress. At the same time, it brought him in very close contact with the revolutionary leaders. Ultimately, he found inspiration from the late Sachindranath Sanyal, the right-hand lieutenant of Rash Bihari Bose of the Gadar fame. I knew Jotin by his party name Robin. His first appearance was not at all convincing, as he was then in his very teens, and when I expressed my doubts to my husband about his capacity, he only said that time would prove if there was any mettle in him. He also added that Robin so far had fully demonstrated his intrinsic value and opined that someday the world would discover his selfless mental strength. My husband belonged to the revolutionary organization of the northern India and was forced to abscond from UP to take shelter in South Calcutta. In 1922, Jotin took admission in the South Suburban College, now renamed as Ashutosh College, in Inter Arts and passed his examination in the first division in 1924. During his studies, he engaged himself in bodybuilding exercise clubs through some of the revolutionary friends. He undertook military training through the university territorial forces. He also participated in Tarokeshwar Satyagraha movement started by Deshabandhu Chittaranjan Das against the heinous malpractices of the Mohant. He served to remove the distress caused to the people affected by the North Bengal flood under the supervision of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose in 1923. And in 1924, they organized protection of the innocent people during the Holocaust of the Hindu-Muslim riot in the Korea area of South Calcutta. He took admission for his graduation course in Vidyasagar College of Calcutta in 1924. He also volunteered his selfless services to the South Calcutta Sevak Samiti and Dakshin Kolikata Torun Samiti, which provided material services to the families of poor people. These bodies had a library, each of its own. Jotin became a voracious reader of nationalist literature, which gave him an inner penetration to the freedom struggles all over the world. Notes from the confidential police file of the Kakori conspiracy case have quote a lot to say. Sachin was the father of the two seditious leaflets, the Revolutionary and Deshbashir Proti Nivedon, both of which were proscribed. The Revolutionary was disseminated and broadcast in Bengal and UP as well as overseas at the same time. The Bengali leaflet was also distributed and broadcast in Bengal. Jotin attended a secret meeting at Meerut in UP in September 1925. The meeting, amongst others, was also attended by Ramprasad Bismil. Robin carried arms to Allahabad in the guise of a European for the Kakori equity. While a student of the fourth year in the Vidyasagar College, Jotin was arrested in connection with the Dakshineshwar bomb case and the Kakori conspiracy case on 25th December 1925. As he could not be identified by any of the approvers or other independent witnesses, he was detained under the Bengal Criminal Ordinance. While in Midnapur jail, he had a sunstroke during the summer months. He was brought to the Alipur Central Jail in Calcutta for medical treatment. Soon after, he was transferred to Mymensingh Jail, now in Bangladesh. The pinpricks and vagaries of the officials of the Mymensingh Jail reached a climax when Jotin and his jail associate, Sri Pannalal Mukherjee, could tolerate them no further. There was a row between them and the jail staff, headed by the superintendent, and in the melee they were severely assaulted and were challenged in court for the riotous behavior and assault. This forced both Jotin and Pannababu to resort to a 21-day of hunger strike. Subsequently, they were transferred to Dhaka Central Jail in March 1928, and they were sent to the notorious Main Wali Jail, now in Pakistan. He was again shifted and interned in a far remote and underdeveloped village in Chittagong, Bangladesh, where language became a problem. He rented their paternal house and shifted to a mess. A new horizon opened for Jotin as a dedicated and determined revolutionary. He engaged himself in organizing and training young men to a disciplined life of selfless devotees to Mother India. In no time, he found large number of youths, students, and people from other walks of life to rally around him. His old comrades, whose unquestionable patriotism and party allegiance became so evident that all of them became a severe headache to the administration. The South Calcutta Tarun Samiti, the Kalighat Tarun Sangho, the South Calcutta National School, the Dakshin Kolkata Sevashram of Orphanage, and such other public institutions kept him engaged. He became a teacher, a physical trainer, a librarian, a playmate to impressionable adolescents, a true friend to the helpless, and above all, he was the life and soul of the secret revolutionary organization. He was also equally mindful of his own studies and attended college regularly. He, along with other stalwarts of the revolutionary organization, participated in the organized rallies and demonstrations as Assistant Secretary of the South Calcutta District Congress Committee against the appointment and visit of the Simon Commission. On their release from detention, the Bengal revolutionaries sank their party differences, and to prove their honesty, they formed a board to equip the annual session of the Congress to be held in Calcutta in December that year under the presidency of Motilal Nehru with a volunteer force under strict military discipline. They chose Mr. Subhash Chandra Bose as GOC and reputed revolutionary leaders donned military officers' uniform. Jotin was appointed as a major in the B Battalion of the Bengal Volunteers. And he also found another indomitable Major, Satyagupta, by his side. Captain of Bengal Volunteers, Sri Vishwajit Dotto, and comrade of Shohid Jotin Das said, "Memory is very painful. What is hunger strike? We know it very well. 63 days of hunger strike is humanly impossible. He is more than Dodhichi."
কি জিনিস সেটা আমরা জানি আর তীরে তীরে এক ফোঁটা জল না খেয়ে 150 দিন থাকা এটা হিউম্যানলি পসিবল।
At the instance of Bhagat Singh, Kamalnath Tiwari, Sri Brijanath Vinod, both students of the Vidyasagar College, Calcutta, were introduced to Jotin for training in bomb manufacture. These two comrades were from Bihar and they shared a room on the top floor of the RJ Samaj building on the Cornwall Street, now Vidhansagar.
भगत सिंह जतिन दास की कुर्बानी से, भगत सिंह की आग से, गांधी की नेतृत्व में हम आज़ादी में
इम्पैक्ट क्या हुआ सर? इम्पैक्ट क्या हुआ पंजाब में? इम्पैक्ट क्या?
देखिए वो है कि मेरा ख्याल मूवमेंट की जो कड़ी है उसमें जतिन दास बहुत मजबूत कड़ी थे, क्योंकि जो भगत सिंह और उनके साथी सोच रहे थे।
Nephew of Shahid Bhagat Singh, Professor Dr. Jagmohan Singh, said that Jotin Das was very popular in Punjab. To contact him after the procurement and in the presence of both Bhagat Singh and Matar Bhagavati Charan, the training was complete and the gun cotton which other chemicals was carried away by them. It was further settled that Jotin would reach their secret hideout at Muchi Hata in Agra to do the rest of the training when he would get the signal from Bhagat Singh. And Jotin kept his promise and in course of the training manufactured 6 bombs of less offensive nature. In January 1929, a secret meeting of important ones including Surjo Sen, Jotin Das, Pratul Bhattacharya was held wherein it was resolved that on a prefixed date there should be a simultaneous rising of the force of the rebel group with arms to be procured and manufactured by the individual group leaders.
Jotin Das, I think, is one of the leaders of this program who sacrificed his life for the cause of peace, social justice, inequality, particularly political freedom of individuals.
With the arrest of Shukdev and his 2 other colleagues, discovery of the secret bomb factories at Agra and Saharanpur, and the subsequent statements and confessions, the Punjab police unearthed a Punjab, UP, Bihar, Maharashtra, Bengal conspiracy. It led to the historic Lahore conspiracy case involving Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev, B.K. Datta, Rajguru, Vijay Sinha, Ajay Ghosh, Shiv Verma, Jaydev Kapoor, Jiten Sanyal, Shouren Pandey, Kamalnath Tewari, Jotindranath Das, and some others as accused.
Authorities to feed him. And it is on 63rd day that he expired. In between, the government wanted to just put him out of jail on some plea or the other, on bail or something, and see that he died outside.
In the jail code at that time, there was no separate provision for the freedom fighters as jail inmates. Naturally, the freedom fighters were treated in the same category of murderers, dacoits, and thieves. The prisoners were jailed under inhuman conditions with inhuman food and all sorts of dirty works. The freedom fighter prisoners were fed up and decided to protest against such inhuman activities of British government under the leadership of Bhagat Singh. The freedom fighters prisoners decided to go on with hunger strike. Due to his previous experience in the Maimansingh jail, Jotin protested against the hunger strike proposal. But when he found his co-prisoners were adamant, he agreed, subject to the condition that his fast will be unto death till their demands were accepted. Bhagat Singh and other co-prisoners were duped by the jail authority and withdrew their hunger strike. But Jotin went on. The jail authority tried to force free Jotin. A rubber tube was inserted through Jotin's nose to his stomach, but as Jotin went on resisting, the rubber tube went into his lungs and milk got deposited, resulting to Jotin's vomiting and bleeding through his nose. With high temperature, Jotin was admitted in hospital, and his younger brother Kiran was allowed to stay with him for nursing. During Jotin's stay in the hospital, all political leaders requested for accepting medicines, which was refused by Jotin. The hospital authority refused to take further responsibility of Jotin, and he was brought back to the Bristol jail with his brother Kiran.
On coming back, I found him gasping for breath. His last wish was for me to sing the two national songs, Kila Chore and Vande Mataram to him.
ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে, তবে একলা চলো রে, যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে, তবে একলা চলো রে।
Scenes were witnessed at the Howrah station on Sunday, 15th September night, when the mortal remains of Jotin Das were brought down, according to his wishes, to Calcutta for cremation, by the site at the Karatala burning ghat, where the mortal remains of his mother and sister had been cremated before. Long before the appointment time, people began to arrive at Howrah, and by 7 p.m., the platform number 1 and all the roads leading to the station looked like a sea of human heads. Punctually to time, slowly and sadly, the train steamed in amidst deafening shouts of Vande Mataram and Jotin Das Ki Joy. As the train drew up At the platform, thousands of spectators surged forward, and many climbed to the roofs of the station itself in order to see the coffin taken from its compartment. Following in the wake of the coffin, as it was borne shoulder high, was Kiran Chandra Das, the brave brother of the bravest of the brave, Jotindranath Das. Among those present were Srimati Bashanti Devi, widow of Deshbandhu Chittaranjan Das, Mrs. Kamala Nehru, Dr. Bidhan Chandra Rai, Dr. Shama Prasad Mukherjee, Maulavi Samsuddin Ahmed, and Subhash Chandra Bose. The most remarkable fact about the gathering was that everyone was barefooted. Showers of fresh flowers were cast towards the coffin, and all along the route, rose water was sprinkled on the bier at the intervals. Throughout the night, men and women filed slowly past the coffin, that soon became invisible, buried under flowers. The night wore slowly on, but the crowd was not perceptibly lessened, and great numbers awaited until the departure for the Kauratala next morning. Mr. Subhash Chandra Bose kept a night-long vigil by the side of the coffin with a band of Bengal volunteers. Bier of the Jotin Das was carried from the Howrah town hall to the procession, 3 miles long, to the Kauratala burning ghat. From early hours of the morning, surging waves of people with barefoot and head were making their way towards Howrah, the place of their day's pilgrimage. People of all classes, Hindus, Muslims, Jains, Sikhs, irrespective of all castes, creed, and color, a large number of ladies with weeping eyes made their way to the bier and showered floral wreaths and flowers over the coffin. At the head of the procession walked bareheaded and barefooted leaders. According to archival police report, filming of this procession was illegal and was censored. The main body consisted principally of the students of Calcutta colleges, which were closed for the occasion. All shops were closed, traffic was at a standstill, and stationary vehicles were used as observation posts. Men climbing to stand on the roofs of buses, a sea of faces strained to catch a glimpse of the coffin. Outside the Senate House of Calcutta University in College Street, students, including those from the Bangavashi College, where Jotin Das was a student, and a number of girl students waited to pay their tribute. It was nearly 2 o'clock when the ghat was finally reached, the procession having lasted 6 hours. Throughout the afternoon and during the evening, Kauratala was transferred in a place of pilgrimage for men, women, and even children. The body was put on the pyre and set fire on by the Jotin's brother Kiran. There was hardly an eye which did not grow dim when Mr. Bankim Bihari Das, Jotin's father, came to have a last glimpse of his beloved son. Freedom of India from British rule has been achieved by the sacrifices of numerous martyrs. Among such sacrifices, the martyrdom of Jotin is unique and incomparable. Ireland's MacSweeney and India's Jotin Das are only the two martyrs who laid down their lives by fasting for the freedom movement. It was a message from the family of Terence MacSweeney, the Lord Mayor of Cork, who had died a martyr under similar conditions in Ireland. The message was, family of Terence MacSweeney have heard with grief and pride of the death of Jotin Das. Freedom will come.